All right, rock and roll. Welcome one, welcome all to the Scorched Earth Political Podcast. I'm your host, John. We welcome friend and foe, sinner and saint. We're all welcome, but as long as you hit that like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, you'll be cool. You'll be Van Halen cool. Like one of my great friends, Eric M. Man, that dude is the biggest Van Halen fan ever. X fan, just Pearl Jam. That dude's just cutting edge, man. He was always on that thing, trying to be cool. I'm trying to be like Eric is with that kind of stuff. Just saying, just saying. So, the weekend's here, and yesterday I met with super producer Stacy, and we were going over some stuff, and literally, there's just so much coming at me, but she's way cool, way gracious. And yesterday, I just wanted to say, man, we just wrapped, man. We weren't dealing with the technical stuff. I didn't want to have to say, I don't get it, like 500 times, hello? And so we're in the restaurant, fast food, because I'm a big spender. And like I had the other day with my folks at Olive Garden, some lady decided she was going to, be the human megaphone. And she's sitting over there talking to her friend, and I don't like Rachel, and I like Fran, and I don't blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God. And Stacy says, is that just like how it was at Olive Garden? I go, yeah, just like it. I said, if we listen deeply enough, I'm sure we can get a backstory on this lady's life. And then there's only one path to get to the restroom. She was kind enough to stand right in the middle of it. Right? Thank you. Thank you very much. Don't you worry. While you talk to your friend at the table, maybe you can get a little closer. Doesn't matter to somebody like super producer Stacy. She's so, petite and svelte. Me, I'm like a Brahma bull that's pregnant. I ain't getting around anybody without, sorry, excuse me, sorry, hello? Like they say, just a little extra weight. He's husky. That's what they say. When you're fat, that's what they tell you, that you're husky. When you're going bald like I am, they say you got a high hairline. Okay? They've got all these cute little things so you don't get depressed and put the gun in your mouth. I'm just telling you. Just saying. Right? So, we're off and running. We got a lot to get to today. If you could, like I said, hit that like and subscribe button. Oh man, I got so much stuff going on here. We're taking no prisoners, telling no lies. And we live in the era where I feel like we're Harrison Ford in The Fugitive, right? We're running away. We're running to try and find the truth, right? And Tommy Lee Jones is representing the Trump administration and, the boy band of Nazis who are trying to take away our freedom, our rights, our unions, stuff like that, right? Is what it is, right? So, just when you think, wow, are we being paranoid? No, maybe not. Seems like there's a couple of Republicans, including Alaskan Senator Lisa Murkowski, and let's make sure we understand she has used her voice against Trump in the first administration, right? Along with Mitt Romney. Now we're starting to see Mitch McConnell come out. Sometimes Susan Collins actually decides she's going to speak and talk coherently. But this is what Lisa Murkowski said at an Indian Nation meeting on Monday of this week.
We are all afraid. Okay? It's quite a statement. But we are, we're in a time and a place where I don't know, I certainly have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious myself about using my voice, because retaliation is real, and that's not right.
let's cut to the chase here. This is one of 100 people in the United States who is a U.S. senator. And she's telling us she's scared. What are you scared of? Are you scared of Trump supporters? Are you scared of Trump? Who are you scared of? And if you are so scared, why don't you become, if you don't want to become a Democrat, I get it. Okay? Let's say that fiscally you line up with the Republicans. Okay, fine. Maybe socially you don't. Why don't you become an independent and caucus with whomever you feel is more appropriate for your views on that subject? Why do we do this passive aggressive where she's sitting here like she is on the mount pontificating to us like, yeah, it's not right what they're doing. And I'm scared to talk. What the hell does that happen? What does that mean to me and you, John Q. Public? When people who have access to power, who have access to money are scared, what kind of ripple effect is it for us? Why don't you say, I am not going to caucus, I am not going to vote with the Republicans until this era of fear and retaliation is done? Right now, the Republicans have 53 members in the Senate. Okay? Let's take it down to 52. Maybe you get Susan Collins to come on over, become caucus with the independents like Bernie Sanders and Angus King of Maine. Now it's down to 51. And let me tell you something. You know what really starts to happen then? What happens then is the Republicans get real scared in 2 years of losing the Senate. Right now, they're not too scared because they can lose 3 seats, 50-50 tie. J.D. Vance, when he's not, criticizing Chinese peasants or childless cat ladies, can make his way in from some other misogynistic or racist comment he's going to make and break the tie. Love us some J.D. Vance. Always nice to go into negotiations with the Chinese and calling them peasants. Real good. Maybe somebody ought to give this guy the art of speaking. Maybe we should talk about that. But she said this on the record, and let's be honest, in 4 months when we see what comes up with the new legislative bill, I wonder how she's going to vote. Are you going to kowtow down to the fear, or are you actually going to have a backbone? She's sitting there and being reflexive, and it's like one of my good friends, Eric M. He is a very spiritual human being, and he's always like, stay in the moment, stay in the moment. She's trying to do that, but she's also telling us to run for the hills. Come on. At some point, make a stand. And I will say this, out of the Republican caucus, she is one of the bolder members. She's probably the boldest member in the Senate. I give her credit for that. Okay? Rome wasn't built in a day. Maybe she's starting to find her Mitt Romney type voice, right? You look at Mitt Romney, and he disagreed with the president frequently. He actually walked with a Black Lives Matter protest, right? But he still voted with President Trump 95% of the time. Okay. I'm not expecting all the Republicans to resign in protest. I understand. They've been Republican their whole life. Now they got some guy driving the clown car who's drunk. And he's on fentanyl. And he can't see. And his stomach's so big he can't turn the steering wheel. Wonder who we're thinking of. Hey, you talking about me? No, but seriously. Why don't we start getting some more backbone here? I'm going to tell you something right now. We're on the side of right. I keep saying this every night. You watch, a year from now, the Republicans are going to be running for cover. They are going to be running for cover. Trump has literally got 6 months. And the way he is taking a wrecking ball to this economy, I doubt he even has that. All right. Let's get to some other things in the news. And then what we're going to do at the end is I got a little special take here. I don't know if it's going to be cool. It's probably going to be lame, but you know what? That's why you can click off. So it seems like Sean Puffy Combs has finally got himself a little trial date. Yeah, right on, right? So Friday, Manhattan Federal Court, U.S. District Judge Aram Subramanian, I wonder if he's worried about deportation, ruled that the trial will not be delayed. Bad Boy Founders' attorneys had filed a motion to delay the proceedings for 2 more months, claiming that the prosecution had been slow in handing over documents. No, you got the best, you got endless trunks of money. This is, the OJ thing, I think, was a travesty of justice, but you know what it really was? It was somebody that the government leaned on, and he had money to actually have a proper defense. Sean Combs actually has the money to have a great defense, And personally, I think he's a creep. Personally, I've seen that video in the Los Angeles hotel where he maliciously and viciously attacks that woman. You think the Ray Rice video is tough? Watch that Sean Puffy Combs. You know what? I got an idea. Why don't we trade him for Kilmar Garcia? I don't think anybody's going to have a problem if you deport Sean Puffy Combs. I mean, nobody is going to have a problem with that, right? Just saying. So his trial, I guess, is going to be in May. Good luck and Godspeed, guy. Good luck and Godspeed. All right. So we got another guy from the clown show, from the Trump administration. This guy's a piece of work. I gotta hydrate up before I start talking about this cat. The counterterrorism czar, Sebastian Gorka. Good thing he's going after immigrants with a name like Gorka. Claims Americans who don't support the president's anti-immigration agenda and deportations policy are on the side of the terrorist. All right. There we go. He suggested advocates, put my hand up, for Kilmar Garcia, the Salvadorian father living in Maryland who was mistakenly deported to a brutal prison in his home country, could be prosecuted for aiding and abetting. Should I give you my address now? Let's talk about something about this deportation that I think kind of gets glossed over in the news. Is people get deported every day. That is part of the deportation process, right? Joe Biden deported 800,000 people last year. Trump wants to get it over 1 million. Okay, fine, whatever. Let's not get there. But they deport you. They put you on a plane, you land in Mexico City, you land in San Salvador, you land in Guatemala City, wherever. They get you off the plane, and there you go. There's your bag. See you later. Have a good life. They don't put you in a prison. I don't see enough of that in the media. Maybe I'm missing it. But, okay, let's say the argument is he's here illegally. Okay? Why are we putting him in jail? Of course, they say he's part of MS-13, but there is no proof. There's no criminal violations. There's no arrest report. There's nothing like that. They deported him and put him in a jail. He's not walking around San Salvador getting a tan, eating shrimp on the beach. Right? It doesn't seem like that's becoming a thing. Like, you want to deport him, but why is he in jail? All right. So Gorka continues his downward slide, and he says it's not left or right. Yeah. Yeah, it's always funny that the people who are on extreme, and this also is on the progressive side, I'm not going to lie, when they have an outlandish take, it's not about left or right. It's about common sense. I can tell you something, the Sebastian Gorka and common sense have never met anywhere, anytime, any place. All right? He says that's the one line that divides us. Do you love America or do you hate America? Isn't this the same thing I've been hearing for 60 damn years? Like, oh, are you a commie? Oh, the socialist. Oh, they don't love America. Let me give you a little info. Let me give you a little info for all the Republicans out there, you know, who are all about America, even though, 1,600 of their people stormed the Capitol, were criminally convicted, and then pardoned by the felon president. Let me tell you, the people who do care about America are the people out there protesting. What you saying, John? You talking crazy. Yeah, I know I am. Let me ask you this. If we weren't out there protesting in Vietnam, would we still be there? Let's ring up the magic 8 ball. Hell yes. That's the only reason we left Vietnam, because of protest in the streets. How about Iraq? What do you think happened there? Protest in the streets. Afghanistan. When something is going on too long and Americans are coming back in body bags, the power structure doesn't ever want to change because they don't want to admit they made a mistake. Let's look at Afghanistan. This is what I was talking to one of the listeners to the podcast the other day. And I said, Bush, he says, let's get out of Iraq at the end of his term, that failed second term. And he says, yeah, but we're going to do it under Obama's watch. And then Obama got it and he said, I'm not even dealing with this noise. I'm going to kick the can down the road a couple years. Then Trump gets in. He campaigns in 2016 on we're going to get out of foreign entanglements. We're going to get out of Afghanistan. We're going to get out of that. Of course, he signs the agreement that we're not going to leave until 2021. Either he's elected in a lame duck or he's not there. He doesn't have to deal with the mess. Granted, the optics were terrible when Joe Biden finally said, you know what, we're getting the hell out of here. We're going. We're packing up the car and we're getting out. The optics were terrible. And Fox News ran it literally nonstop for 2 years, right? But at least the guy had the balls to get out of there. I wonder, and you don't know what you don't know, but how many American servicemen's lives were saved because Joe Biden said, you know what, I've had enough. Let's just go. Let's take the political heat. Yeah, it wasn't done well. I don't know if it ever could be done well. But, remember, Trump was the one who wanted to have the Taliban come on over to Camp David. Yeah, let's negotiate with them. Let's give them a voice. Yeah, there you go. That's really going to work well. The optics were terrible. And then, everybody sits there, and I'll tell you this. You know what a real politician is? Somebody who does the right thing even if he's going to catch the heat. Somebody who's got a backbone, somebody who's got a goddamn spine. We don't really have a lot of those. Lisa Murkowski, a little bit. Joe Biden, yeah. Did he make a lot of mistakes? Sure. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to sit here and drink the Kool-Aid. But at the end of the day, he did something that was risky. That was against. He could have kicked the can down 4 years. Oh, we'll leave Afghanistan in 2025. He could have done that. And then you know what would have happened when Trump got in? He'd kick the can down the road. Because he had the chance to get out and he didn't. So Gorka, he just wants to dig the hole a little deeper. We have people that love America, like the president. Yeah, I think he loves money more than America, but I digress. Like his cabinet, like the directors of his agencies who want to protect Americans. And then there's the other side. I guess I might as well put my hand up now, right? That is on the side of the cartel members, on the side of illegal aliens, and on the side of terrorists. And maybe on the side of due process, the democracy, and the Constitution. Guess we got those little details tangled up there a little, huh? Are they technically aiding and abetting criminals? Because aiding and abetting criminals and terrorists is a crime in federal statute. All right. I guess I better just put some ink on my fingers, because, hey, I guess I'm going to jail. John's going to jail. All right. Let's talk about another story before we get to our wrap up here. We've seen draconian cuts, federal research and aid, USAID, all kinds of departments across the federal spectrum. Social Security has had a 12% cut in personnel. That should make it easier to get your Social Security checks. Should make things really go quicker, right? Because there was just so many people waiting for you. Seems like 38 of the 43 experts who were let go last month from the boards that review the science and research happened in laboratories at the NIH, National Institute of Health, are, wait for it, spoiler alert, you're probably going to be shocked at this, are female, black, or Hispanic. Do you think they're qualified as DEI? You think that's how they're targeted? Let us continue. According to an analysis by the chairs of the dozen boards, the scientists with expertise in these fields that include mental health, cancer, and infectious disease typically serve 5-year terms and were not given a reason for their dismissal. You think there's some anti-DEI going? You know how Pete has it? I don't know if you happen to notice this, but it seems like every other week some female general or female colonel or female commander seems to get let go. Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Right? But only 6% of those let go were white males. So let me see if I get this right. 38 of 43 people who were cut were female, black, or Hispanic. Now, I'm not that smart, but 6% out of 43, let's just be honest, that's about 3. Okay? 3. And there was 38. Wow. I wonder who the other 2 were. So there's 38 and 3, and there's 43 that got let go. I guess there were some Native Americans I guess we couldn't get to, right? All right. You know, sometimes this whole woke thing, you know, maybe there's some truth to it, but at the end of the day, it's about promoting people's rights and giving everybody a fair shot, right? Giving them a chance to make a life, giving them a chance to make a home for their family, to build a future, to provide for their family. Just an equal thing. You know, I was talking last week on the sports podcast, and I was talking about, you know, we watched golf. It was the big thing last week at the Masters. Oh, a tradition like no other. Yeah, you're right. There's 70 years of racism, 80 years of misogyny, 90 years of anti-LGBTQ. Yeah, wow, what a tradition. You know, they acted like it was heaven on earth. Oh, look at how great the green is. Yeah, right. I mean, let's call it what it is. The only Mexicans there for 60 years were the guys cutting the grass and watering the trees. Lee Trevino, one of the greatest golfers of all time, said he didn't feel welcome there. He never even went in the clubhouse. He changed his shoes in the parking lot. Wow. Must have been some really nice vibes going on there, right? All right. We're going to get to something, and what I like to do is on the weekends, and I got this suggestion from one of our great listeners, Crystal. She sent me a link to this Hoover Institute. Now, this Hoover Institute propaganda that talks about the upcoming tax cuts that are either up for renewal or going to expire in September. And I did see when I was in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, I happened to be at a hotel that had the Christian Broadcasting Network on one of the channels, and I looked at it, you know, hey, let's see what's going on. Let's see how crazy this really is on the other side. And literally, you're not drinking water because you're going to spit it out because there's so much outlandish stuff going on. But one of their talking points were, well, yeah, inflation's up and it's a little, but Trump's going to get that under control. Really what we have to worry about is if the tax cuts expire, then we're all going to be in trouble because we're going to spend a lot more money. Yeah. Let me tell you something. That's such bullshit. And I want to just top it with, that's such bullshit. Okay? I'm a middle-class guy. I'm a union guy. I'm a blue-collar guy. I'm a carpenter. I'm damn proud of it. I've met so many great people in that field. Like I talked about Eric. Just one of the smartest people I've ever met. Right? Salt of the earth. All our deductions, being in construction, we literally will drive 50, 80 miles each way. 2-3 hours. We were able to write off our mileage, our tools, our union dues, which I think is a real big thing that never got brought up. That all got eliminated with Trump and the tax cut. Now, is he trying to hurt unions? Yeah, he sure as hell is. Anybody in the union who thinks he's trying to help you, you're an idiot. Now, granted, if you happen to have like 3 or 4 kids, you probably made out a lot better. You got that $12,000, $13,000 exemption. I'm not sure. I'm not a CPA. A face like this, you think I'm a CPA? Yeah, I do, John. Yeah, you're probably right. But I was watching it, and the Heritage Foundation, thank you very much again, Crystal, for sending this to me, was talking about how the rich pay a disproportionate amount of taxes compared to the middle class and the poor. Right? And I watched this whole video. This is some crazy stuff, right? That they are pushing down. They claim, their big thing is they claim 3 things. They claim that the rich are being portrayed as greedy, but they don't want to give more money to a government they feel doesn't spend it correctly. Let us hammer down on this one point. They don't think it is spent correctly because they don't benefit from it. They're rich. They don't benefit from Medicaid. They don't care about Social Security. They don't care about other stuff that society in general does. They say the government spends too much, but they say that it is wasteful spending. Okay, same thing. Same argument applies. Anything is wasteful that doesn't benefit them. Let me tell you the story of my sister. Okay? Walmart and these rich people have all made egregious amounts of money in America, but they do not want to reinvest in America. Reinvesting in America is not paying somebody's wages or salary. It is making society better. Now, that is not the job of business. I understand that. I do. I'm not getting on that rant. But she worked at Walmart for 10 years, and Walmart had a policy that they would give health insurance to anybody who got 32 hours a week. For 10 years, her entire employment there, they only gave her 31 hours a week. In the office, they had the forms so she could get state aid for medical. Walmart makes $30 billion a year. And they cannot give health care to their employees. Because God bless, if they only made $29 billion. That's unacceptable. The Waltons wouldn't be able to buy another sports team. You know, if we had health care, if we provided health care for our employees, we wouldn't have been able to buy the Denver Broncos. And Stan Kroenke, you know, who married the Walmart heiress, wouldn't be able to buy the Denver Nuggets and then the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, okay. There we go. Government has to step in when big business will not do something. Big business only cares about big business, right? I understand it. That's the nature of the beast. But don't bitch. Don't sit here and say the money is being spent erroneously when it's taking care of the citizens who have made you insanely wealthy, right? Number 2 on the Heritage Foundation. The greed of politicians to spend money that isn't theirs. Duh. Isn't that what the CEOs of big business do? Do you think Tim Cook, he's spending money on Apple projects? That's not his money. He channels it, and that's what politicians do too. They are deflecting every issue. But we're going to get to the best one. Oh, yeah. The rich, this is their big argument. The rich pay a disproportionate share of federal taxes. That is insane on every level. I almost feel like Rush Limbaugh is talking from the grave. Stupid on stupid. Okay? They pay the same tax rate that you and I do. Okay, I think my tax rate is 23%. And I want to say it's from 0 to 150,000 is 23%, right? And then from there all the way up, it's 23%. How you doing? So I think it starts at 30,000 all the way up, it's 23%. So understand this. If you are lucky enough to make over 30,000 a year, which I hope everybody does, I hope you make multiple times that, you are paying the same tax rate as Jeff Bezos. You're paying the same rate as Warren Buffett. The same rate. Now, obviously, as we know, the top 2% who are in this own 85% of the wealth in this country. So, of course, they're going to pay more in terms of dollars. But like Bernie Sanders, the GOAT, the socialist king, says they should pay more because they have made more here in America. I don't know if you remember back in the day, we found out that Mitt Romney, who was a multimillionaire, I think he was worth $50 or $100 million, he actually, instead of paying the 25% tax rate, he was paying capital gains at the time of 12%. He was just he had all his money in the stock market and he would just take some out and just pay 12%. And it was a big scandal in 2012. You know, that was before we had political candidates and presidents who did not release their tax forms. I don't see Trump doing it. Oh, must be under another audit. Okay. Sure, we got that, right? So let's talk about what the government does with the money. All right? You know what? I'm going to save that for another day. We're starting to get a little too long. I can already hear you chilling out, right? But here's the thing that the rich have that we don't have, okay? I'm going to go through these real quick here. Jeff Bezos, his salary last year was $80,000. The rest of the money came in stock. Elon Musk had a zero salary with Tesla. He made $63 billion, in stock. Billion. Tim Cook, head of Apple, $3 million salary. Oh, he got another $63 million in stock. Yeah. I made more than Elon last year. Sure I did. Yeah, right. ProPublica has published that at least 18 billionaires got government COVID stimulus checks. Jeff Bezos was one of them. He actually, 2 years ago, got a child tuition tax credit. Explain that to me, to a guy who's worth $150 billion. Right? They get to write. Let's go down the list. If you have a yacht, it can be considered a second home that you can write off if it has a bedroom. I wouldn't know that. I don't have a boat. The only guy I know who has a boat is my good friend Bill. Believe me, that thing's a yacht. I'm telling you right now, it's beautiful. Maybe Bill's got to figure out how to write that off as a second home. They also could buy a second home and write that off. Yeah. It sounds just like the rest of us. Yeah, they don't have any extra write-offs. Oh, wait. If you have a private plane, you can write off 90% of, wait for it, cost, including fuel, crew, and housing. Guess I missed that one. You know, that's what they forget to tell you at the Heritage Foundation is they have write-offs and they have more write-offs. So what they make, they don't have to pay on. They're smart people. Look, when you and I work a year, here's how it works. We get our W-2, we go to the tax person, and we say, okay, and they give us the news. Oh, you get back this, you owe this, whatever. Smart, rich people start tax planning in January. And they figure out what I got to spend, how I got to spend to, and I've heard this phrase many times with rich people I know. I don't get to hang with them, but I know them. They want to mitigate their tax obligation. Have you ever heard that has your tax guy ever told you that? No, they usually end up saying, oh God, you're effed. Oh God, you're effed. Oh, that didn't go well. There we go. All right. That's it for today. Went a little long. I appreciate those of you who hung around to the end. I love y'all. We're on the side of right. We are going to damn win. I will talk to you soon and have a good day.